Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Retro Rankings podcast, brought to you by Rotation. I'm your host, Paul, and this podcast serves as a platform to rank the top 7 best or worst of anything video game related, retro, up to now, according to me. Being that these lists are of my opinion, of course, leaves things open for debate. If you wish to do so, please visit us on social media or email us at potationrotation@gmail.com if you want to debate. And let me tell you something, it is our second DLC episode, episode 20 of the Retro Rankings podcast. DLC episode on, well, what I think are good movies with bad endings, not really being ranked. I just want to talk, and it's going to be interesting. This episode and the next episode, doing something experimental with it in that I don't have a script. I don't even have an outline for these next 2 episodes. I'm just going to ramble right off the cusp, which will be interesting for the next episode because it will be a ranking episode. However, that's going to be very unique. It's going to be hands-on. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean next month. But for episode 21 of the Retro Rankings podcast. But for this one, I recently saw The Batman, and I thought it was fantastic. I went into it with extremely low expectations, knowing nothing about the movie, except for the fact that this was hinted as more of a detective Batman. And I'm like, okay, well, we really haven't seen something like that on film before. And then the day of, I'm like, and I saw like one of the earlier like preview showings. So I think they had like an IMAX preview on a Tuesday, and then the rest of the theaters, well, not all of them, but some of them had a showing on the Wednesday. Part of some like fandom thing or something. I don't know what it's called. And I was at that one. And then, of course, the Thursday night is when it unofficially came out, and then Friday officially came out that week. So I went the Wednesday night, and that day when I was planning my evening, I'm like, holy shit, this movie's 3 hours long. Like, I didn't even know how long the movie was. I'm like, okay, 3 hours of a dark detective Batman who looks to be kind of brooding all the time and kind of emo, and Robert Pattinson, who I'm just starting to appreciate as a good actor. I'm just starting in recent years, basically ever since I saw The Lighthouse. I'm trying to peel him away from Twilight and the very, very minor role he had in Harry Potter. And I think he's brilliant. And he is one of the best Batmans so far. It remains to be seen as far as the sequel goes, which obviously sets up for a sequel. I don't want to spoil too much. It's still fresh. It's only been out for a few weeks. It's still fresh on everybody's radar if you haven't seen it. But I do suggest you go out and see it. But basically, it got me thinking. So at the end of the 3 hours, and here's a little pro tip, because you're not going to get a pro tip today. There's no pro tips on the DLC episodes, but I'll give you a pro tip. Post-credits, if you already don't know anything about the post-credit scene, it's not even a scene. It's just the Riddler's computer saying goodbye, and then a website flashes real quick. But that website has been then, of course, out and about on the Internet of Things since that week, and it's evolved. It's evolved since. But basically, you go to the website, you answer riddles, and then you get to see like pictures and stuff, and there's a certain somebody else that's involved in these, I don't know what you want to call it, reveals on the website. It's the same certain somebody that's at the very end of the Batman in Arkham. So anyway, I do suggest you go out and see it if you haven't. But it got me thinking. So you get to the end of a 3-hour movie, I'm like, this was a very good movie, and it could have ended very badly. It could have had like a shit ending, but it takes its time to tie up everything that it possibly can, and it does it very well. The whole movie is done very well. I have really nary a single gripe about the Batman. I mean, I'm that impressed with it. I haven't, It's right up there with The Dark Knight, and I've got some gripes about The Dark Knight. So to say I don't have any gripes about the Batman, except is it a long? Yeah, it is a long movie, but everything in there feels necessary. Everything in there feels necessary. Like I'd be interested in seeing what they did cut from the film. It does it have a pacing problem? I mean, it feels slow at times, but it's a necessary burn. That's how I see it. I don't want to talk about too much about the Batman. I'm trying to make a point here. My point is, by the end of the film, like it could have ended very bad, but it didn't. So it got me to thinking. And then I also recently saw Dune, which I can't believe it took me this long to see Dune. Dune is a fucking sci-fi masterpiece. It is a brilliant film. I went in. I don't even remember the original Dune at all. So I went in not knowing what the hell was going on. Was this a sequel? Was this a pseudo sequel? Was it a reboot? Was it a prequel? Like I didn't know anything about it. Came out loving. And that's another movie too, where like I'm watching it and I'm like, it's fantastic. And the ending was good too. And I suppose I could do spoilers on that. That movie's been out longer, but it just hit HBO Max again. It was on HBO Max limited time, along with the theatrical release, and I missed it on HBO Max. Never got a chance to watch it, so it just got back now, and that's how I watched it. I've been watching it at the gym. So, but anyway, that's another movie. That's like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that, and it ended well. Like I'm thinking, these are like two really great movies that I've seen in the month of March that could have ended badly, and thankfully they did it, which makes them from beginning to end really, really good movies. Got me to thinking, I want to talk about movies that I liked, that I had high expectations for going into, that had shit endings. There's a lot. Obviously, no movie is perfect, but usually if I have a gripe about a movie, it's going to have to be somewhere in the middle when the plot's being driven, except, like, boy, you know what? No, let me back up. So yeah, so you expect plot holes, right? So along the course of the movie, in the middle, somewhere like that, where the plot is, like I said, being driven, but you get to the end, and those type of movies, the end can be weak because they're typically not strong. And I hate when I see a movie that I'm really enjoying and it's the opposite. Like it's pretty solid all the way through, and then you get to the ending, like what the fuck? Like this doesn't make sense. I can't explain this. And I went to Reddit, and there was like a whole like discussion. I think it was on Our Movies, I believe it had to be, and about movies with bad endings. I'm like, you know what? I kind of feel the same about some of these movies as well. I have, even if they're on this list per se, if you want to call it a list. Some of them I ended up owning anyway, regardless, and some of them I don't, because I am a big movie buyer. But like the movie Now You See Me, it was inventive and creative, and I thought wholly original, and it was a good movie. But the ending of this movie, which is, I guess you can describe it as a magic heist, like Ocean's 11 with some trickery, if you will. The movie is about magicians fooling people into believing that they're doing magic when they're not. But then, like, suddenly magic exists. So what initially makes Now You See Me intriguing is that the illusionists, known as the Four Horsemen, they not only conduct the heists, but they fool the people that they can perform magic tricks, which they're not. But for most of the movie, it's made, and they're not, because for most of the movie, it's made clear that the magic doesn't actually exist, and that's what the horsemen. That's what makes the movie intriguing. That makes the characters intriguing. But it's confusing because then an FBI agent was not only working with the horsemen, but is a member of the group and they're real magicians. Like, what? Like, if that sounded confusing to you, it's because it is. Like, it made no sense at all. So, and yeah, that is. Otherwise, it's a good movie. The sequel, I liked the first one so much that I just went out and bought the sequel on DVD. I think it was on sale. I want to say one of the last blockbusters that closed in the area is like, I don't know, like 7 years ago or something like that. I think had it like for $5. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen it. I'll pick it up for $5. Second one's not that good. It's not as good as the first one. Kind of like how Ocean's 12 is not as good as Ocean's 11. But if they make a third, Now You See Me, which I don't think they will, hopefully it'll take the Ocean's 13 route and kind of recapture some magic that the first one you had, except for that bad ending. Lucy was another movie with a rather like ridiculous ending, kind of leave you like, what? It ends with Lucy turning into a supercomputer and then ejecting a flash drive with their brain in it. And there's like nothing anywhere in the film before that moment that suggests humans can become like these like slimy, goopy supercomputers. So she turns into a machine, has their brain transferred to a flash drive. And that might seem like cool for a sci-fi movie like Lucy, but it doesn't work here because prior to that transformation, like I said, it was the character had declared that she would be immortal and like everywhere, which makes the flash drive kind of pointless, to be honest with you. And so achieving 100% brain function, the expectation was for her to do more with it rather than just pass it through a flash drive. Like, what the fuck? It's so fucking weird. Another one I have on my list here is Planet of the Apes. This is the 2001 Tim Burton Planet of the Apes. So not the other Planet of the Apes, which that trilogy is fantastic. Nary a flaw. If I have to say so myself, nary a flaw in that trilogy with Andy Serkis. But the 2001 Planet of the Apes, that was a Tim Burton movie. It was okay. It had its moments. I mean, it was a good movie overall, except for the ending. It definitely not as good as Batman or Batman Returns. But a lot of people probably like once the ending of Planet of the Apes came rolling along, it's like I didn't buy this one. I definitely don't own this one on DVD. Yeah, it's probably the ending. The ending is probably why people don't even remember that this version exists. It's just crap. The ending is just crap. So the ending, the problem here with the ending is that the main character, whose name escapes me right now, the hero of our story, is returning to Earth and finds that everyone, including the police, are apes, right? But in a kind of like a callback to the original with like the Statue of Liberty in the sand, they needed to put some kind of like statue or a figure, something famous in the film to kind of make you realize that, kind of, I mean, I don't even actually know why this is in there. Let me get to it. So Lincoln Memorial, right? Lincoln Memorial is at the end of this movie. But the Lincoln Memorial, Lincoln is an ape. Statue of Liberty in the original wasn't an ape, so I'm not sure what exactly is going on. But it's like changed in honor of like the grand ape like leader. And it's not explained if this is even the same planet or not, or how the apes managed to take over all the systems, yet it's not their land. Like, what? So I think they kind of like, I don't know if they were trying to imply something, or if they're just like, we need to stick like another statue of something at the end of this movie, and let's like give it like a twist. So Statue of Liberty's already been done. What's next? Oh, Abe Lincoln. Lincoln Memorial. Oh, let's make him an ape. but there's no explanation as to why the Lincoln Memorial is an ape. Now this one goes back a ways, and this goes back to like my high school days. It was there was like a slew of films when I was in high school that were kind of like guilty pleasures to watch that I wasn't technically allowed to watch yet, like Sliver and Basic Instinct, and another one was Indecent Proposal. So this one, yeah, this goes back to like 1993, so right in the middle of high school. And in Indecent Proposal, a wife agrees to be traded to a wealthy billionaire for like $1 billion. But after realizing the tycoon doesn't love her, she goes back to her husband, and they live happily ever after. And I know that's Woody Harrelson, and I think Demi Moore, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I know Woody Harrelson for sure. Anyway, so the best ending here, really, to resolve this issue could have been the husband moving on with another woman, right? And that's actually, like, a Redditor said something like that, and I wholeheartedly agree. The scenario where both parties move on would undoubtedly have been the most appropriate ending for the movie. But, instead, the husband was clearly wrong to trade his wife, hence she had no business going back to him. And the husband could have accepted her back, either since she was more than happy to leave him. But, I mean, what makes the ending even more baffling is that he used the $1 million to buy a hippo. Like, no shit. He used the money to buy a hippo. Good movie overall. It was kind of like, there was like these, like, I don't know what you want to call them, like sexually charged thrillers in the 90s, like late 80s to like mid 90s. It was like a thing. It was like a theme of movies. I think maybe Blue Steel, Blue Velvet. Fuck. There's a slew of them. But after like Basic Instinct and then Sliver, it kind of starts going down. So going down from there as far as memory goes. Another one, and okay, so I Am Legend. I'm probably gonna get downvoted for this, and I'm saying downvoted because there's some thoughts and ideas that I'm kind of getting some from our movies off of this for this special episode. So I'm gonna be probably downvoted, but I'm not like the biggest Will Smith fan, like really at all. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, did I watch it? Yes. And I only watched it because I fucking loved DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Like, I spun those jams on my off their cassette in my boombox when I was 10, 11 years old. Yeah, loved DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So when Will Smith did Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I watched it. I started to follow his movie career, didn't really get into it. I don't know. He grew old and tired on me, and I just don't really care for Will Smith anymore. Didn't care for when he tried to go back to music either, with the Miami and whatever the hell else that he sang. Just no. Not into Will Smith. I do give some of his movies a chance. I Am Legend is one of them. I Am Legend is one that I actually don't like. And I know there's a sequel coming. I think it was just announced recently. So I wanted to throw this in here because it's actually not, I think it's a good movie to most people. I think it's because Will Smith's in it that I don't like it. And because he's in it almost entirely alone for most of it. So it's really, really putting up with Will Smith almost for most of it. Entirely alone, but the movie is an adaptation of a novel of the same name in 1954. That came out in 1954, I think. I don't know who wrote it. Like I said, I don't have a script. I don't have anything. But anyway, so they choose to die during a zombie attack after 3 years of trying to survive in an apocalypse. And I guess there's like this scene with a safe, and there's a grenade. And the question is, why wouldn't you just throw the grenade to get into the safe? So a lot of people are going to say that this is one of Will Smith's best movies, like I said, and probably like a good performance on his part. I didn't like the movie, probably because of him. Again, potationrotation@gmail.com. Send your downvotes there. But yeah, the ending of the movie was like the worst. Like that was like the cream on the cake. The cream on the cake? Is that a thing? Did I just say the icing on the cake? The cream on the crop? The cream in my pants. No, because that would kind of be a good thing if you cream your pants. This isn't a good thing. But the ending was just like, yeah, fuck this movie. Like, I'm probably never going to watch it again. The main character had spent a better part of the 3 years trying to find other, human beings in this post-apocalyptic future, if you will. And when a woman shows up and tells him that there's a camp of survivors, he chooses to die. Like, it's kind of pointless for him to fight so hard for 3 years, only to give up when there's actual hope. Like, you just spent a couple hours watching this guy struggle for 3 years, and his character arc is, fuck it. Like, oh, there are humans? Fuck it. I don't know if that's supposed to be like he became complacent or something. Like, I don't know. I still don't understand it to this day. So, now this one's going to be interesting for me to talk about because, and it's the last one that I want to talk about actually too. So short episode, but it's a movie that I actually thoroughly enjoy. I'm very opinionated on the Superman movies. I love Superman 1 and 2. I love Christopher Reeve as Superman. Always will. There's going to be never anybody ever better because there hasn't been. And I just don't think there ever will be. I mean, we've had since him. If I try to name everybody, well, we've had Henry Cavill. I don't know if it's Cavill or Cavell, but we've had him, and we've had Brandon Routh, or is it Roth? That's another one. But we've had him, and for TV, we've had it wasn't really Superman per se. It was more Clark Kent, but I guess he was all right. The kid that played in Smallville. That was an okay show. I didn't watch the whole thing. I wasn't like glued to the TV for that one at all. He was okay for Clark Kent. He was okay as a Superman. I don't see him being a good Superman. So if that ever was a thing, and now we have, I don't even know the guy's name in the DC WB. TV shows. The green, do they call it the Arrowverse? Is that still a thing? I was invested for like the first 3 years of that show, and then like the first 2 seasons of The Flash. And I did I watched that special a couple years ago, where they kind of brought in, I think it was the Infinite Crisis on Earth. Was that the storyline where they brought in a bunch of different universe, including Brandon Routh's Superman? Came back and died, if I remember correctly. But anyway, I didn't, I don't remember that well. But there's another Superman on TV. Oh, and we also had Dean Cain, which, it's Dean Cain. There's a lot of people that love Lois and Clark. It was just okay to me. The new guy. I want to say there's like a Hawk or a Heck or something. This is what sucks about not having anything written down. I know he was in the MTV Teen Wolf reboot, if you will, call it that, which actually was pretty good. I actually did like that series. I was actually a fan of that series. Like one of the only things I ever watched on MTV since they got rid of music videos. But that guy, Tyler Hoechlin, maybe? I don't know. That's what's coming to me. I've seen his Superman, and I'm not impressed either. So I don't see anybody ever topping Christopher Reeve. Now, that point aside, I think Brandon Routh would have been a fantastic Superman to carry on that universe's Clark Kent slash Superman slash Kal-El. He was just given some bad shit to work with as far as a movie goes. Superman Returns. Which is why I was excited. That's the only reason why I watched the Crisis on Infinite Earths, to see him come back and to see if maybe there was a chance that this was going to be a thing where he could come back and there would be another universe, a separate universe in DC like they've done with the Joker and the Batman, outside of the whole Snyder Justice League. And it never happened. It wasn't going to be a thing, unfortunately, because I think he's second best. Henry Cavill's third. He does good. I think he can keep going. I don't know what the fuck's going on with this version of Superman at all. I don't even know what the fuck's going on with DC and their movies to begin with, because the 3 movies or something that was supposed to come out this year just got knocked back to 2023. No reason whatsoever. Before the Batman started, they had on screen the slate of movies this year alone. I think the League of Super Pets animated cartoon is the only thing that's still coming out this year in the summer. Everything else, the Aquaman sequel, I think, and the Flash, right? And I don't know what else was coming out. 2023 now. I have no fucking idea what the hell's good. The Flash, everybody's been waiting 5 years for that fucking movie. It's just been crazy. There's going to be one. I mean, it's been filmed pretty much. They must be doing reshoots now or something. Must not be right. But DC's their films in the Snyderverse of the Justice League are a fucking mess. Outside of that, they do pretty good. Honestly. Now, I don't know if Shazam is going to be part of that universe. I know that Shazam and Black Adam are going to be in the same universe. And I know they reference the other DC characters, but we haven't yet seen them. So I don't know. But Shazam was great. The Joker, great. The Batman, great. And the The Suicide Squad was also great, as well as Peacemaker on HBO. So, and that ties in. If you haven't watched the Peacemaker, here's a little spoiler. That does tie into Snyder's Justice League universe. It's cemented pretty much the last episode that it is. I mean, you kind of know it is ever since, if you watch the Suicide Squad. But yeah, it's definitely cemented. I'll just say that. So, it just seems like every other property that they do, though, any other character that they do has been fantastic, but the Justice League characters, not so much. I mean, Wonder Woman was good, but Wonder Woman 84 fucking was terrible. It fucking sucked. So, I cringed when I had to, because I collect movies. And so, as far as anything that's in a series, even if there's a real poor entry, I will still buy it. So, yes, I own Wonder Woman 84. I'll never watch it. But it's on my shelf because it's part of the DC universe, right? I'm getting long-winded here. So, DC is a fucking mess. And there's been talk of Henry coming back. I don't know. Maybe. But Man of Steel. I liked Man of Steel. I thought it was better than Superman Returns. A lot better than Superman Returns. I wish Brandon was in Man of Steel. Just same actor, different Kal-El, let's just give him a reboot. But anyway, Henry, I've kind of grown. He's kind of grown on me because he's a nerd, geeky video game guy too, myself and anybody probably listening to this. But the major problem, of course, that anybody has with the ending of this, the very first Snyder entry, is that Superman kills Zod, right? So he had every opportunity, where he could have at least tried to dissuade Zod, but he doesn't. And just like Batman, I mean, Superman's been known, except for when he's had issues or he wasn't actually Superman. There's a lot of different times Superman hasn't been Superman. Let's just put it that way in the comics. But like Batman, he has a no killing rule. So his decision to kill Zod without exploring all other options feels like it was a desperate attempt to make him darker and to introduce this darker DC universe of characters, maybe. But, this and other character choices in the movie would contribute to Snyder's work being heavily criticized by fans and critics. Because I still remember to this day sitting in that theater and when Superman snaps Zod's neck and then looks down and looks up and screams, my jaw was on the fucking floor. I could not believe what I just saw. Superman fucking killed a guy. Like I know there was like all this fucking death and destruction. You know that when they were fighting, that when they were destroying these buildings, there had to be deaths. There had to be civilian casualties, right? Did Superman really have this moment of weakness where he felt like I can't, there's nothing I can do to stop this other than killing him? Like, Superman doesn't think that way. Like, that's not Superman. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God. It was, I think about it now and I'm saving it for last because it's really like the one I'm probably the most invested in as far as an ending that just makes you go, what? Because of its background in nerd geek comic book culture. But that's not Superman, man. He just doesn't do that, I mean, if you were, cyborg Superman, like let's take this, cyborg Superman who was a villain post death of Superman. That version of cyborg Superman, Bizarro Superman, Dark Superman, like any kind of, like there's been alternate Superman that like maybe like if they wanted to introduce a Superman that would kill somebody, like go that route in like another film, like a sequel, which there hasn't been one. But like, yeah, it's just bad. Like it would have been fine for him to be like brutal, but not kill. Like Ben Affleck's Batman, brutal. Like probably damn near killing thugs in those Batman versus Superman, Justice League, whatever, like just throwing guys through floors and shit like that, or ceilings or whatever it was. Like damn near killing people, but he's probably not, right? I mean, right? Considering that there's no like jaw dropping, like holy shit, Batman's killing guys, like that he's not. He's probably just severely maiming them, to say the least. But Superman, Man of Steel. If this was a ranking episode, and what was that, like 5 movies? I think I just rambled off. Like that is definitely number one. The number one movie where I was like, wow, this is better than I expected. What the fuck is this ending? That would be number one on my list. But yeah, so I just thought, well, seeing the Batman in Dune and like how good that they are, especially like their scores, the cinematography, the actors picked to play the parts, everything is just in both those movies fell into place perfectly. They're for the genres that they're within. The Batman, less superhero, kind of like how, the Dark Knight trilogy was, kind of like how the Joker was, less superhero, a little bit more grounded in a gritty reality. And I would probably liken that to more of a drama thriller, like a crime noir almost film. And Dune is just, I mean, that's sci-fi from beginning to end, clearly, but it's so good. It is what I wish fucking Star Wars movies could be. Jesus Christ. But anyway, Star Wars could never be that dark, not that grim. I mean, they could be, but and they've tried at points, but they just Dune. Jesus Christ, such a good movie. So, movies that were good, that I was surprised ended very well, just made me think, and I kind of like looked around, and I'm like, I came upon this Reddit thread. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Some of these movies I own. Some of them are on my list. Some of them have been guilty pleasures. Some of them, and I'm like, I'm gonna just talk about some of them. That I think the list had double what I just talked about. Some I've seen, some I haven't. I didn't want to spend an hour just rambling off a shit ton of movies. So, but anyway, I decided to talk about it on this DLC content episode, but that is going to do it for today. The next episode, since I already kind of have it planned out, and I'm actually kind of recording them both within the same week, it's not going to be scripted as well. It's going to be hands-on. It's going to be the top 7 best game controllers. I am just going to record with a wireless microphone that episode as I walk around my game room, the YouTube studio game room, with controllers in my hands, test them, play them, and talk about them as I do. And it's going to be a mess. I don't think I'm going to basically pick up every single controller I've got, and I'm going to go through them, and it's going to be some back and forth, but eventually I will say the rankings for the controllers. So it's going to be an interesting episode. I hope you'll come back in a couple weeks and join us for that one. Top 7 best video game controllers. That's going to do it. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Again, if you want to email us about anything you heard today or have an episode suggestion, please email me at potationrotation@gmail.com. You can also visit us at potationrotation.com for our social media links to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. The merch shop is there as well. And of course, links to our gaming reviews and vlog channels on YouTube. Please don't forget to leave a rating for us. It would be most appreciative. It would mean a lot. And I thank you all for listening. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.